how would you like to make your first million? Today we have Steve Walsh with us, and Steve is the founder of Bison Equity Group and the author of Make the Next Leap. With over 40 years experience, he works with entrepreneurs and investors to structure smarter deals, acquire established businesses, and build durable long-term wealth. So, Steve, tell us, what are the 5 steps you recommend entrepreneurs in order to make the first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and the wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Well, the first million is always the hardest. And we talked about this, that the one thing I would say about that 5 steps is, one, you got to get your products top notch. The one thing you work on is make sure your product is top notch. Two, what kind of space are you in? Problem, what are you solving? What problem is it you're solving? And I would say that's got to be really, and your marketing is got to be really dialed in. A lot of times I see entrepreneurs do one thing is they make this product, but nobody wants to buy it because nobody has an idea what it is, who's out there. Your product, a lot of times I see entrepreneurs, they make a product and then all of a sudden they don't have any money left for the marketing. That marketing is really important. You got to do the things that a lot of times they do stuff online. And I would say you got to know your client. You got to know your client base. And entrepreneurs, they think that they know their client base, but do you really know your client base? I'm talking, do you know what their fears, what their wants are? Do you really know your client? And then, if you're really dialed in on your clients and you're able to get your marketing dialed in and your product dialed in, those are things that are all great, but then you got to sell. You got to get out there and sell it. So the one thing I would say is, who are you selling to? And it is matter of, and not just selling online, because a lot of times what happens is people assume that their client is online and they don't understand that what are they doing besides that? Where are they at? Is there partners that you can be working with? Is there people out there, the influencers? Are there influencers that can get your company on the books? And the one thing also I talk about is this: who is able to open doors for you? Get out there and find that, I would say, the mentors, influencers, and some people that have done it already. Those are the things, if you can do that, get out there and have people open doors for you. Because quite frankly, I'll give you a good story. And it's in my new book. There is a local influencer. This guy, he was introduced to this company. He saw their product. He loved their product. But he didn't come in as an investor. He became an advisor. And guess what? So their product, they were struggling. They didn't get their first million. They were probably barely making their first 10,000. But here's the thing. What happened is he started opening doors for them. So not only did they hit their first million the first year, which is rare, their first, I think probably their first 5 million the first year. And it was really what happened is it was the doors that this guy opened for them. That was the one game changer for them. So right now, they're probably, I think they're doing sales wise, I think they're close to $1 billion right now. And it all started with one guy. And that was it. The one thing that people say is that first million is hard. It is. But if you can find ways to make it easy, and that is people opening doors for you, getting that product in line with your customer. You really got to know your customer base. But those are the things little things like that make a big difference. And find those influencers that can open doors for you, because it makes it a lot easier to do it that way than do it the hard way. Is, I'd say, the grind. The grind is, I would say, if you're looking at the grind, it can be a struggle, but and also too, this is the other thing is to make it fun along the way. You know, the grind can be hard, but make it fun. And these guys that's what I think really sparked it. With this guy saw the opportunity, but he also saw that they had a really good group. They had a couple, I would say their employee base, they had probably, at the time, I think they had 5 employees. And, they had basically scrimped, and they didn't bring investors in yet. They were going to start bringing investors in, but they weren't getting any traction. Nobody was opening doors for them except one guy. And that's all it took. I always say that a lot of times it only takes that one person to open the doors for you. And that is the thing. It could change dynamics of your company overnight.
Steve, I would like you to expand a little bit more on that, because making the first million, which is the hardest millions, is a marketing and sales exercise. And sometimes even had nothing to do with the product, because the initial product that you design, out of the 500 millionaires who interviewed this podcast, no one had come yet telling me, Harry, guess what? I designed this product, and exactly as it was, I sell it and I become a millionaire. Nobody had come with this story yet. The product has to pivot and change, depends what the market wants, what the market want to pay for it, what form they want the product. But sometimes on the other side, we have entrepreneurs that they design a product, they put all the money, time, effort in this product, they remortgage their house, and after they run out of resources, they're knocking on your door, still help me. And you are like, how, you don't even know, you cannot even, you haven't go out even to try to sell it yourself. So now you want my money and my expertise to go and sell it for you?
Right.
So I'll do it myself. So, Steve, why do we have these, or the main failure of the startups that we see out there is basically exactly because what you just say. Why people are getting so wrong? Why very little startups are succeeding? And I give you more element. Out of the tech millionaires that we interview here, right? Few of them are actually software developers. They are expert in marketing and sales. They know how to
Right.
go out there, tell the people what product they want in what form, and then they go back, they pay some developers, and and they do it, and they become a tech millionaires without knowing how to write any code. And the people that are from tech, they come to a podcast and they spend the whole time talking about sales and marketing and how they find the first client and how they pivot and how they put in front of people and say, guys, I saw that you were geeks, code people. You spend the whole podcast talking about marketing strategy and how you did it. So why, Steve, the little success rate is between the people that focus in sales, marketing, and put the from people to get feedback. And we have a huge failing rate, exactly what you point out. Entrepreneurs putting on money, effort, and energy created this massive elephant product that will change the world, and they don't know, nobody buys. Why do you think that is the source of this problem?
I think a lot of times it's because they don't know. A lot of times what happens is an entrepreneur thinks of a great idea or a great service, whatever it is, but they don't know the other side. It's kind of like the flywheel. When you get it started, you got to get it started some way. And a lot of times they don't know. They don't know that you had to have this marketing. The marketing, sometimes people think that marketing is this thing that just happens. It doesn't. The one thing is that you have to have, the thing is, you have to understand what marketing is. And it's really, you're going towards a customer that has emotions and you're selling towards those emotions. And so, how do you generate great sales with your client base? And that's the one thing is people create products all the time, not even thinking about their customers. They think about they're thinking that they're the customer. A lot of times you're not the customer. You have to think about, who is my customer off the top, right up front. and make sure that your pain points are big enough, that you're selling something, um, if it's something that's going to be that they're actually going to want to buy, you know, and I also look at this too is when you're creating a product, are you just creating a product that everybody else is creating already? If there's 10 of you out there, uh, you're gonna have a hard time selling your product because it's already out there. Things that make a difference are the ones that create products that actually get them in a different lane. I would say, are they creating a product that is actually making them look different? That if there's 10 of you, those are no different. I'm going to buy your stuff on Amazon and there's 10 of them on Amazon already. So I would say that's the one thing you look at is what is it that makes you different than everybody else out there? If you can say price, it's not a deal. If it's something that it's not a game changer. That's the one thing is you really got to look at. I've looked at companies and they always come. The thing is we're cheaper, but we're better. I'm like, if you're better, then why are you cheaper? It doesn't make any sense. It's like I'm like, if you're better than them, why are you cheaper? And so that's why I look at it as I always look at the company, but then it's also the one thing I look at is these founders, are they really an entrepreneur? Do they understand it is not for the faint of heart? That's the thing. It is something that you sleep and eat and drink entrepreneurship all day long. And it is fun and it's sometimes stressful, all above. But I can tell you what, on the other side, it's what you look for. It's what happens on the other side. And that's where the fun parts. And I've talked to great entrepreneurs that have done some wonderful things. And they always, the one thing I always say is what happens a lot of times when entrepreneurs, they become comfortable, that is where the killer is. You got to be really careful about that. When they start making money, they become comfortable. That's where you got to be careful. That's where you really start to step up and it's okay because comfort is not what you want. You want to know what's on the other side. And that's whereas I look at this as an entrepreneur then becomes a business owner. You're not in the business. You're outside the business running, I've seen great entrepreneurs. What they do is they've created products or created companies and brought somebody else to run it. That's what you want. And that's where you become, an entrepreneur, but you're not actually in the day-to-day grind. You're outside. And that becomes fun too.
I'm glad that you touched on this because this is the other paradigm that we want to discuss as you as a private equity investor. Because the 0 to 1 million, which is the hardest million, right, require one type of entrepreneur. But 1 to 10 million is completely different for games. Like you have to learn everything and learn something new. People think, oh, you know what? I'm gonna have my business and I'm gonna become a billionaire like Elon Musk and the Google guys and Mark Zuckerberg and all these people. And I'm gonna be a billionaire like all of them without knowing that this is exception of the case because how the dynamic works is that the entrepreneurs that they are wired from 0 to 1 million, they are different than those ones that are gonna go to 1 to 3 million, 1 to 5 million. The dynamic change because they didn't sign up to be a leader, they didn't sign up to design procedures, they didn't sign up. 0 to 1 million, you depend on the client. If you don't have a client, you don't have any business. That's why we're talking about marketing and sales a lot. Right. But well, after you get the million and you get some kind of indication of product market fit, well, it's more about systems, it's more about procedures, it's more about how to get the marketing strategy consistent so everybody can use it in the company. And some entrepreneurs that tell me, Harry, I'm getting bored. I didn't sign up for this leadership thing. I signed up to hustle. This is who I am. And and now I'm sitting and I'm bored. So Steve, tell us what biggest challenge that you have in the private equity space when you have to tell a founder look, it's time for you to hire a CEO, for you to overlook that. We know taking away your company, we know doing anything, but you will be more helpful in the company if you want to go 10 million, 100 million. If you are an advisor, if you are in the, I don't know, in a board of director, if you are a consultant, but
Right.
the dynamic that this company is about to take, you know, wired for this, or tell us any challenge that you have in this and how you become the challenge.
I think the thing is, here's the thing I look at entrepreneurs like that need to change. The seat becomes different. You know, they're the visionary. Visionary is if they're the true visionary, that is what their skill set is. That is what they see. They see something that way ahead of everybody else. That's the seat that I want them to stay in. I don't want them to run the company day to day. It doesn't, that makes no sense at all. But I want them to see the thing is, and here's the thing, take them out of the day to day stuff like that. It opens them up to more creativity, more ideas, a lot other things that
100%,
where
100%.
they were not thinking before. And so that is where it comes in. If they're a true entrepreneur, the visionary, that is where I want them to stay. And that's where, you know, that's then they become just as they were just as much as they were before.
They had to be willing to change, and some
Ego
of
is the
them are not willing to change. Some of them want to run. Some of them want to go from 1 to 10 in the same way that they went from 0 to 1, and it,
yeah. I
it
mean,
really doesn't work. It's not because even if you work 10 times harder, you're not gonna get to 10 million. It doesn't really
no.
work like this. The dynamic change completely, right?
Well, here's the thing. I always say this: look at where you want to go. If you want to go to 10 million, I always say, then why not 100, and then work backwards. That'll tell you need in place because at 100 million, you need other things in place besides just you. You need people in place, you need systems in place, and more likely you're going to need capital. The thing is, that's where that, if you work backwards on that, then it becomes obvious that for them to run it is going to be really hard. And so that is where I would say, and then also ego. Leave the ego at the door. I would say entrepreneurs are no, they don't like to do that. They struggle with the ego. But that is really what
We all,
happens.
well, uh, I think, okay, let's face it. We all have ego, otherwise we will be entrepreneurs. We can do better, right?
So true.
So,
Well, that's why
so
we do
we,
it.
we, so we have it. However, the problem is that the more you grow, the ego has to go down. That's
Yeah, I mean that's the thing.
the bigger issue that we have. We all been there. Yeah, exactly what you described, right? The When I started my first business, I'm in property. I'm going to the office like I'm a big deal. I'm the big boss. Everybody has to do what I say, and I'm exhausted. I'm so tired. Everything has to run by me. All the clients want to speak with me. All the supervisors want to speak with me. I'm so tired. I think these people are gonna kill me. They don't let me sleep. So I start to delegate. I start to get down that ego and do that transition. This business about me actually is actually better about them. I want
Mm-hmm.
them to be a leader. I want them to grow the company. I want to do better job than me. And in fact, they were all better than me and everything. And when I drop that ego and I give them a space, they send me home. Exactly
Yeah.
to do what you say. They will come. My manager will come once a month to my house to tell me about how the business was going, Eva, and she was telling me only one problem to solve. Harry, we
Yeah.
had this problem. Harry, we had this problem. And it was the same problem. It's the same problem since we started the business. It was a property business, and it was a demand for single room, for the smaller room. So this problem started from day one. And I was explaining always to my manager, don't bring me this because this is the problem. There is no way to solve it because all houses by design only have one single room. This is the room that you design for the kids. So, number one, single rooms. This is the operation that we run in London, yeah, where I'm based. I said, number one, single rooms are the smaller ones because they cost cheaper. That's why there is a huge demand because they cost less. And also there is an scarcity, so they are less. So every time the IVA come with the problem with the IVA, we have a huge demand for senior rooms. Don't bring me this problem again. Next month is coming with the problem. Next month is coming with the problem. Well, it's the only problem that I had to solve. So one after she left for the fourth time, I called my Polish video. I said, look, what is gonna take if the big rooms, the living room, the bigger room, we can divide it in two. Is it that difficult? And they said, no, no, Harry, we can do it. It's something similar like Home Depot in the US, over there in London, they call it B&Q. We go to B&Q, this is specific material. The tenants, they're not going to hear each other. We put some insulation. It's going to be amazing. They're not even going to notice that it's just a living room that have been cut in half. And Steve, we made 2 million.
Isn't that crazy?
Out of that solution. 2 million. That was the only problem that I had to solve. And the problem is there from day one since started the company. And even the accountant is telling me, Harry, what are you doing that you're not telling me? I said, do you took more houses? How come all this money is coming? I said, no, we just dividing. And, if a big room, we're charging like, 650 because you cannot charge more expensive because people don't make the salary that much. But a single room for 500 quid, everybody was like crazy renting them out. So in mind, we increased the thing. So to your point, Steve, right? That there is a different journey. Okay. Obviously, at the beginning, when I'm going 0 to 1, I don't even I can't afford the employees. I cannot afford this team. I had to do it myself. But when they sent me home, it was an untapped income there, and tap revenue, and and then and then my marketing costs went down huge because it was a room. So even that, we cut out the rooms in half, all of them, and still the demand of single rooms stayed huge because our portfolio it was not big. So Steve, people had to change. The CEO had to be willing to change, and the ego it play a part. For me, for example, I did out of survival. To be honest with you, I wanted to sleep. I think it's amazing to be a big deal. It's amazing to have this big ego. Now you're the big boss, but if I keep going like this, number one, I'm tired. Number two, I'm bringing a very toxic environment to the company. I'm angry. I'm tired. So I did it out of survival. I didn't know that you can hire someone like you, or you can have an investor like you that can come and say, Harry, you see, it's enough.
Right.
We run it. We take it from there. This is what we need from you. You're gonna be fine, and that's it. So I didn't have that. I need to find it kind of
I think
survival.
I think the partnership. I mean, that's why I look at it as it's a partnership. When I come in, I look at it as a partnership, because the one thing is I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. If I'm in line with you, with what's going on, and I understand what's going on, and you understand where I'm at, it's awesome. We have a lot of fun together. We can do a lot of things together. And that's the one thing I'd say about a lot of times entrepreneurs, they're doing that 80 hours a week and they're struggling there. And I say, get somebody to replace you in one space, in one area, and start with one area and then go from there. And it's like, one thing is entrepreneurs, because here's the thing, it's not any fun to do 80 hours a week. But if you can do the one thing that you're really good at, get out of your own way from all the other things. Get that stuff off your plate, somebody else to run it. And then it's a matter it's like dominoes. You keep on building away, get that one thing out of the way, and then get another one. And then eventually you get yourself out of the business that you're like you said, you're actually the one that fixes the big problems. I've seen, I'm coming out with a new book. It's called the Black for High Net Worth Investors. And my last book was Make the 10X Leap and that's for entrepreneurs. But this other one's for investors. I interviewed investors for this book. One of the investors that I interviewed, he had an electrical company, sold it, and then he started another company right after that. And it was an okay company until one thing. He hired one person. It went from an okay company to $1 billion company like that. And it was only because he hired one person. And I would say that's the one thing you have to look at is you're probably one person away from a dramatic change. And that's where I come in. A lot of times entrepreneurs, they don't see what I see. I come in, I can see right away where they're either struggling, their problems are, or what needs to be changed before they even know. And that's the one thing I'd say is a lot of times entrepreneurs, you know, they've been in it for so long, they don't know. And it is one thing that I say is to say if you can get mentors, coaches, those people in your life to really get your mindset in a different level. Because that's really what happens. Your mindset has to change.
So, Steve, tell us your story because sometimes the entrepreneurs they need to when the private equity investor comes, probably at some point of their life he was a founder.
Yeah,
So tell
yeah.
us a little bit about your story, how
My journey.
everything started.
So I was when I was a kid. And so that, you always look back. I always ask founders and what they did as kids, because a lot of times you can kind of tell what. But as a kid, I was a entrepreneur. I was fixing motorcycles when I was a kid, buying motorcycles, fixing them up, selling them. That's where I started, and that was when I was a kid. Also, one thing, I was an investor at that time too. I would read the Wall Street Journal. That was a big thing. I went from that, and then I went into accounting. I got my CPA, never practiced, but I got my CPA. So that really gave me the edge about going through the books and that. But also on top of that is along the way, I've always been an investor, and I've always invested either companies, real estate, are the two areas that I really like to work in, is invest in, either publicly or private. And that is where I came in, is really looking at how marketing was the one thing I always worked on. Not to the extent that I do now, because I believe marketing is a big, big, big. It's a big mover for your company, and so I continually do. The other thing is too, I am a avid reader, and I've been a avid reader for a long time. And I think that's the other thing that makes me different, is that the way I try to work and look at things differently than other people will. And then I love to work with companies. Entrepreneurs, like I said, can be fun, but they also can be challenging. One of the two. That the one thing I'd say is, if you come in with a learning mindset and you're open, leave the ego at the door. That's awesome, and it's fun to do that. It's fun to work like that.
Yeah, yeah. When you go to scale, you have to, yeah. The more you drop that ego, the more free you're gonna be. The ego is
Oh, so true.
actually your big enemy. Your is your best friend when you're building in 0 to 1,
Yeah,
but scaling 1 to 10
it
to
is. I mean,
100.
yeah, because
Managing that is a huge challenge.
yeah, and I think that's the thing is, when you're scaling a company, when you're truly scaling a company, you change dramatically. That your skill set that you had before is probably not the skill set that you have now.
I
And
change. I change
yeah,
with change. I remember starting the company. I got party. I got that. I remember when I was scaling up, I was start to go out less and focus more. Have more responsibility, and I start to become more. I have employees now. I'm thinking, well, this is. I'm not by myself anymore. I have a lot of people. A lot of tenants are responsible for also the people. So maybe let's sleep to stay on point. The next day you change as the
yeah.
company grow. You feel it. Uh, Steve, out of the 500 millionaires that we interview in this podcast, 1 out of 5 are property millionaires, property investors. So can you tell us what's the good, the bad, or the ugly of the property business? Is it then easy to become a millionaire in property?
I think, it's all about the buy. When I've done on real estate side, it's all about the buy. I would say you look at the what I'm notorious for is trying to find where everybody else isn't. If I'm going to do real estate, if I'm going to do on the real estate side, I'm looking at real estate and seeing what is out there that nobody else is doing. I did that back in 2010. A lot of companies were, where you're at now, you're in Miami. So Miami, Florida was a ghost town. People didn't want to buy real estate. They were like, this is terrible. We're not going to buy real estate in Florida. That was when I went down there. And I went down there and bought real estate. It was the best time to buy it because nobody was buying. Everybody was like looking at me like I was like, why are you doing that? I was like, because it's cheap and was doing it. Go there when nobody else is wanting to buy it. And that was the best thing that I ever did. And went down there then because it was multifamily was, everything was going by the bank and everybody was, afraid of touching anything like that. I would say the one thing on real estate is it always comes down to the buy. When you're buying real estate, if you're following the crowd and everybody, they tend to do is you see this where everybody buys multifamily or one person buys multifamily, everybody buys multifamily. Everybody's buying, office space nobody's buying office space right now, which I would say if you're looking at one area that's probably going to be a great place to look at is office space. I would say if you look at any space in real estate, because it's extremely cheap right now.
Absolutely.
And it's going to get cheaper. That's the other thing is too. We're not through the cycle yet.
Since COVID has gone down and hasn't picked up, it's a great opportunity, Steve, because it will pick up.
It will. And I think the one thing is they're finding
just taking longer, Steve, right?
It is. And look at this. The one look at on office space, their companies are now making employees come back to the office. And I would say that's the one thing that I've always said is if you want a true culture and a true culture in your business, you got to have your people there. Zoom call is great, but if you want really true connection, and here's the other thing is ideas come with people being around each other. That you bring in ideas or
innovation,
things like
something.
That. Yes. Yeah. So that's where I say.
It doesn't come, Steve, it's difficult to brainstorm in Zoom, right?
So true.
To brainstorm to have everybody in a boardroom, right? And bring some coffee and some sweets and everybody coming and be comfortable. And if we need to order pizza, we order pizza. And this is where the magic, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, I was at the time telling a lot of young people that were getting jobs, or all of a sudden they were remote working. I said, get in the office, get in front of the president. He's going to remember you because guess what? Nobody else is there, so you might as well go. And that was probably in some of the things I would look at is if you want to be part of a team, get in the office and do some of the things that nobody else is doing. Make yourself different.
So I think that's very profound, interesting. Yeah, Florida now exactly a lot of office space going down and still struggling. I do talks all over the world. So after COVID, are very expensive to take people out the house. Very expensive. It's getting better now, but again, the cycle it will take time until we change the behavior again. Right, but I think when it comes to conversion, when it comes to exactly culture, Steve, nothing better conversion of better things when people are this is right. If we are running the company, we know this. The other thing is, Steve, one thing is to make the money, the other thing is keeping the money. And now let's go about. We have people in this podcast make million, lose it. So clearly they're very good entrepreneurs. They know how to get a product, do a marketing and sell it and make a lot of money. However, when it to the other side, even someone came to this podcast and said, Harry, I exit a lot of millions, make a lot of money. I give it to a financial advice company. And after a year, when we came back, a lot of zero was missing because we realized that that this particular company made money doing with the fees, so it doesn't matter if we make money or not. They don't lose anyway. So bottom line, in order to make money, you need a good entrepreneur. But in order to keep it, you have to become a good investor. And this is completely different skill set. It's the same thing, different person. Same different person that will scale from 1 to 10 is the same different person that has to become a good investor in order to keep it. So when do you realize in your life that making money was not enough? That was a second part of the equation that you also had to be very good at, because otherwise you're gonna end up like, I don't know, the people that win the lottery, or
Yeah,
some athletes that make a lot of money, and 70-80% of them they're bankruptcy when they are old because they didn't know how to manage that money and how to invest it. So tell us about your particular journey in that topic.
I would say the one thing is, revenue streams, create revenue streams, and that could be anything. The one thing I say about retirement, what is that? What do you want? Why do you want retirement? And I think it's a matter of like, what do you really want? Everybody wants financial freedom. That's the one thing I look at is financial freedom is the goal, I think. And that can be and people have it in different. A lot when people sell their company, they all of a sudden they see this big pile of money and they start things. They forget one thing. They don't have a revenue stream that they had before. So I always say create revenue streams that you can do, that you can create. And right this day and age, I would say, especially business owners, they have a skill set or they have a knowledge that they could still be selling. That a entrepreneur would pay money for that. They don't think that anybody would want to pay money for that. And that's not true. A lot of entrepreneurs out there, they want to learn from somebody like that. And I say is sell your service, sell that service, sell whatever it is. People would pay money for that. And that creates a revenue stream. The more revenue, I always say the more revenue streams you can have. And then also, what is it if you made this big pile of money and you start spending on things that, RVs and Maseratis and a lot of things like this, and all of a sudden, guess what? You're like, wow, I don't have any income. What's up to this? So that's the one thing I'd say is you really got to sit down and say, okay, what kind of income do I really want? And then from there, it's like no different than I look at when you say is what kind of company do I want? It's same thing when it's like, what do I want? And does the pile of money I have, does it support that? Will it support that? Those are the things. And then it's a matter of like, what type of investment do you want to do? You want to be an angel investor? You want to help entrepreneurs, all the things that you want to do. So retirement that word never came in, doesn't come into my, vision. Because quite frankly, you have too much fun. It's like, the thing is,
It's
you,
a
you, you don't want to do that.
it's an illusion. Yeah.
Yeah,
I did that. I did that. Oh, you get a million. I do this. I go to the beach. After 2-3 weeks, I'm bored. I'm like, what?
right. Doors are not built.
You think that oh, I'm gonna make a lot of money and I'm gonna holiday and I'm gonna be in the beach drinking mojito for the rest of my life. This is the most stupid idea that we put in our head. And after we make it, we realize that what are you doing? After 2 weeks,
Yeah,
you
they
bored
get.
to death.
Well, that's the thing. I
I've
mean,
been there. It happened to me. On the other hand, look in London where I'm based, the cab driver there is an office. I don't have a car, so I use them a lot. Okay, so it's like a taxi, a mini cab office. Okay, so they all know me. They drive me all over London, everywhere. So I know all the drivers. I know everything. They know my phone number. They pick me up. They drive me everywhere. And I'm talking with them one in the evening, and they all have houses in Spain. They making good money, right? And they look, man, you have a house in Spain. What are you doing driving all all the time. You should be on holiday in Spain doing nothing. Come on, retire. And the guy told me, Harry, you know what happened? That the last person that retired for the minicab died. The last two people that retired, they died. I mean, they lost purpose. They have
Yeah.
fun there. They drive in
Yep.
this minicab. They play in cars. They have community. They have a purpose to wake up every
Yep.
day. And if you change that dynamic, it have an impact also in their health.
Yeah.
They get depressed. They get obese, whatever, and then die. So the sense of purpose. Yeah, so all these entrepreneurs thinking that okay, I'm gonna be in the beach doing mojitos and work like I can do what I do. I do talks all over the world. It's like a holiday, and you speak with entrepreneurs that do events. The closest that you're gonna get to
Yeah.
to that dream, right, Steve?
Well, Harry, I think what you just said is purpose. The one thing is I'd say is when a lot of times entrepreneurs sell their company, they kind of lose their purpose. And so it's a matter of like, what is your purpose then? You have to have I truly believe you have to have a purpose. That purpose changes. But you need to have a way to reason in the morning. One of the things it's not, like you said, it's not going to the beach, it's not going and have mojitos. It is a purpose is, as entrepreneurs are built for that. And I would say is the ones that I've seen, they're 80 years old. I'll give you a good example. This 80-year-old that I know, that he's a entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. He gets up in the morning every morning. He puts a
Wow.
backpack on, and he hikes 5 miles a day. But then he comes back and works on his ranch. So he still has a purpose. So the one thing I would say about that is, I don't care how old you are, you still need a purpose of some sort. And it changes. And that's where I look at is, um, you know, it is great to sell a company, but then it's a matter of like, that's where I go back to entrepreneurs are still hungry for information. That they're still hungry for communication with other entrepreneurs. They want to learn from that person. And entrepreneurs say, well, I don't have anything to share. That is bullshit. I mean, you have so much information that you can share to the world that it's amazing. If you've done something like that, something great like that, why not? And people will pay you for that.
So, Steve, the other thing is that we have a story. Somebody shared the story in this podcast. An entrepreneur that didn't want to exit the business. It was offering so much money, and the guy said, "No, I don't want to sell because of this. I want to sell it because of that." And when we get to the bottom, when they get to the bottom of it, they didn't know how he was a part of the community. Let's say, like for example, electrician business, right? Now you have this business, and you are a blue collar like everybody else. You just happen to own the company, and you're part of that
Right.
community where everybody's blue collar and everything. And now you're in the point that you're gonna exit your company. You're gonna become really wealthy, and the guy didn't find himself in this new role, and because he will lose his identity and didn't want to sell for the company. Finally he managed to sell it, but it was a big struggle because he want to let go because he's thinking who are gonna become then, and if these people gonna accept me now when I come and buy a mansion and whatever, what I'm gonna do with all this money? All this money, I'm gonna lose all my friends. I'm gonna lose everybody around me. So a lot
I
of
think
people,
it,
Steve, a lot of people talk about deal with failure. Very few people deal to talk about dealing with success. Yeah, I have been there also without knowing how to deal with success and sabotage myself. And this is another part of the cycle as well. That sometimes nobody's gonna feel sorry for you. Oh, poor guy, he's exiting for millions and he doesn't know what to do with his life. Nobody's gonna feel sorry for you, but is tough. And if you don't know how to deal with it, you make a decision that that sabotage yourself and you will lose everything overnight, right?
I've seen that. I mean, I think it's
Me
success
too.
is,
Me too.
I think the one thing I think about success is um, then that are similar to you. That's the thing is people are afraid that I'm losing friends. So were they your friends? Maybe they weren't even really your friends. I mean, that's the thing is when you move up, it's a lot of times you get friends that have the same things that happened before. I would say that, a lot of times when people become very successful, people become, like you said, they're envious of it. It's not bad. I mean, it's like all of a sudden you have other friends and you do other things and you're around people that, I always say this, find people that want to be, you want to see you as a bigger person, that want you to achieve, that want you to do things. A lot of people that are like, they're willing to like push you forward instead of pull you back. And those are the people you want to be around. The people that are really going to cheer for you, those are the ones that you surround yourself with. And there's a lot of people like that are not envious of you. They want to be, a lot too. It's like people that want to be like you. That's the other thing is too. There's a lot of those type of people too that they're not envious. They just want to be like you. And so then it's like a matter like maybe you can teach them. How did you get there? What is it that what did it there? And those are the people that you want to be around. People that you're a guest, instead of a pest. That's what that you want to be that guest. You want to be invited to things that are fun. And so get around the people that want to see you succeed. And that's it may not be your friends and it may not be your family. It may be somebody else, but be around people that want to see you achieve. And if you made it, then pull people up from back behind you. Pull them up. Those that look at us too is what can you do to help those people? I think it's kind of like giving back. That I always say, the more you give, the more you get.
And Steve, so if somebody's in love with this conversation, how people can find you, how this works?
Yeah, so reach out to me at steve@bisonequitygroup.com. You can go to Amazon and find my book. Right now, I have this book, Make the 10X Leap, but my other book's coming out next month, so you'll be able to get
What's
that
the title?
That is called The Black Book for High Net Worth Investors.
Oh,
and so that's specifically for investors. But this one is Make the 10X Leap. And this is for entrepreneurs and that want to go to the next level. And that's really where I want to play.
Thank you so much, Steve, for the podcast. I really
Harry, it's great talking to you. It was fun.
I think you're great. And for all of you following the podcast, see you in our next episode of Let's Talk About How Brave Entrepreneurs like Steve break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
All right. Thanks.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.